It's happy hour again from Central City, New Orleans. Hello, I'm Grant Morris. We're live at Casa Borrega on Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard in Central City, New Orleans for happy hour, a part of the family of shows on the podcast network. It's neworleans.com, brought to you in part today by Petite Pet Care, dog walking and pet sitting. Love and care when you're not there. How many of you guys have got pets at home right now? Everybody around the table's got a pet. Oh, you don't have one. Ruby, you're the only person.
I'm very sad.
Do you have one,
plants.
Julia? Plants. These guys do not look after your plants. You'll have to water your plants yourself.
Even.
But everyone else has got a pet, so you can have these people take loving care of your pet when you're not there. Someone could be walking your dog right now for you and cooking dinner for you at the same time. More information can be found at petitepetcare.com, or you can give them a call at 504-300-9-PET. When you walk into a bar in New Orleans and you pull up a bar stool, you never know who's going to be sitting on either side of you. What you do know is no matter what they look like, what they're wearing, whether they just got out of a limo or just got out of jail, they're going to be happy to talk to you because that's New Orleans. And this is Happy Hour, a cocktail-fueled 60 minutes of random conversation with folks who have nothing in common other than we're all New Orleans in a bar here at Casa Borrega. Hello, everybody around the table.
Hey, hello.
The fabulous Douglas Engel is taking photos of us as we speak. My special guests here today at Happy Hour are, in no particular order, or this order actually, Cari Roy. Hello, Cari.
Hello, how are
Cari,
you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great.
You shouldn't have to ask me how I am.
No,
of course.
I know.
I'm sure you've had all these jokes 100
Every
times.
single one.
Cari is a third-generation psychic and medium with 20 years experience plus, helping others with her unique abilities. Cari has been featured on The Today Show, A&E, the Travel and Discovery channels, and was recently named Best Psychic to See in New Orleans by the Travel Channel. Okay, listen to this, you guys. And the best psychic to see in the USA.
Whoa.
That's the country.
Wow.
The best psychic that
Wow.
you are sitting with the best psychic in the whole country, as determined by no less an authority than BBC America.
True.
Holy crap, that's
know.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's worth a round of applause.
It really was.
You're the best
I
psychic
was
in
like,
America.
crikey. It's
Crikey,
the
mate.
BBC.
Yeah. What did you think about that? Did you put your fees up instantly?
No.
You haven't? You have
I
to
know.
do
I need to
something.
hire you as my manager.
Do you have a manager? Because I'm available.
Really? Oh, okay.
I do the show an hour a week. I've got a lot of time to spare.
Oh, we can figure this out, actually.
This is going to be great. I've already got a job. How's it going to work out? Can you tell?
It'll be fine.
It's going to be great, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Cari's based in New Orleans. Her office is in the CBD, and her clients range from psychiatrists to CEOs, celebrities, and stay-home moms. Do you really have psychiatrists?
I really do. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And in case you don't want to listen to any more of the show and you think this is a bunch of crap, you can go check out Cari's website. It's neworleanspsychic.com.
Yes, it is.
Wow, this is going to be a very interesting hour. Have you guys all got questions you'd like to have answered by the psychic?
Oh,
The best
really?
psychic.
I thought about it.
Everybody's got one.
Ruby
Let's-
wants to know when she's going to get a pet.
And the male voice you heard, you're the only guy here besides me, Kevin.
Yeah, I am.
Hey, there, things are picking up for us. It's Kevin McLin Jr. Kevin McLin is a New Orleans actor, screenwriter, and film producer after completing a master's degree in entertainment business from Full Sail University. Kevin teamed up with his classmates to write, produce, and act in his first independent feature film, The Station. That's interesting. After you did a film business degree, you didn't actually go into the business. You went into the wrong end of the business, the creative end.
The creative end.
Why didn't you go to the money end?
Well, it's still both in my area as producer and writer.
I guess so, yeah.
Writer, it's 100% creativity. Producer, it's really 99.8% business, and the rest is a little bit creativity.
So you can do it all.
Yeah.
Come on, all right.
I'm trying to go
Well,
back
that's
to
the
the
way to
old
go.
age, the golden age of Hollywood, where you can do it all.
Yeah.
I just can't sing.
Well,
Yet.
there you go.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
I
Hey, so
predict.
listen, Kevin currently has several TV and feature film projects in production that include the animated series Dirty Springs University and a feature film called Loco Amigos.
Yeah.
In his free time, Kevin enjoys international travel, going to movies, and spending time with family and friends. How many friends have you got?
A lot.
A lot of friends.
A lot of
So it
fun.
wastes a lot of time then.
Good thing for Facebook.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Well, you don't spend much time with your friends if you're on Facebook. That is the worst.
Well,
Facebook,
I
isn't
have
it?
friends all over.
Isn't it totally the worst?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I have friends all over though. So I have friends
Yeah.
in New York, LA, DC.
Do you have anyone in Kuala Lumpur or Beijing or anything? They're
I
playing witnesses?
actually, I had a friend in Beijing that played basketball there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he the tallest guy in China?
He might be.
How
I
tall-
don't know.
How tall was he? How tall are you? You're 6'1".
I'm 6'2".
6'2". You've gone up.
Yeah. My dad's 6'1", so it's like if I could see over his head, I'm taller. I'm
Okay.
like a little bit over.
You're 6'2".
I'm the second shortest in my family.
Wow.
On my dad's side of the family. My
That's some
other
tall
uncles and grandfather was like 6'4", 6'6". Yeah.
Well, that's some tall genes. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. And listen, our music guests here are three wonderful-looking women who are all sitting along in a row. The name of the band is Pyeya, which is spelled P-Y-E-Y-A, which is, I guess you don't have a manager, right?
No, that's right.
You might have two
I
jobs by the end of
got
the
two
hour.
gigs on both sides of the table here. That's a very difficult name to say, so I was wondering who came up with that idea to call it that.
Man, yeah. Well, Pyeya is a made-up word.
Even
To
crazier.
our chagrin, we thought it was the word for sing in Bulgarian, but that's actually Pyeya. But then once we realized it, we'd already kind of went too far with it, so we're stuck with Pyeya.
You're stuck
And
with
that
it.
makes us more searchable. If you look
It's
for
true.
sing,
Yeah.
There's
you
nobody
can
else
Google
called
us. There's
Pyeya,
no
yeah.
so.
we are the only
I've spoken to a
ones.
lot of guys who regret coming up with a stupid band name over the years. The Goo Goo Dolls, I know those guys were sorry.
Well,
They were very upset that they came up with a stupid
well,
name. and
we
yet
were sort of happy to find out that at least it wasn't some other word, that it was
It
a
doesn't mean
made-up
it doesn't
word.
mean
Right.
it doesn't mean like hemorrhaging,
Right, exactly.
succurating wound or something
Yeah.
in Bulgarian.
Exactly.
Hey, so the three women in this band are an international, all-female folk trio. You're not an international folk trio, really, because you're all American, right?
We sing international folk music.
That's what it means.
That's what
Okay, I thought you were going to be all foreigners, and I was going to have to translate.
I grew up overseas.
Where did you
so-
grow up at? This is the voice of Annalisa.
Yeah, in about 11 different cities in Europe.
With a name like Annalisa Kelly, maybe it was Ireland you were in.
No, never Irish.
None of them.
Yeah, and I'm not. I must be Irish, far back there, but not that I know of anyway. Kelly is just
So-
a coincidence.
So what countries did you grow up in?
Do you want the list? Italy, Russia, Finland, then Yugoslavia, my one Balkan connection, Austria, Turkey, Belgium, and America.
Annie is our international part of
That would
But I'm American.
qualify.
I'm American.
Why was your parents in the military or something?
State Department. I went to a military school. I
State
had military friends. But
CIA. That was the voice of Cari Roy. CIA. by
She
the way.
must know.
Whoever's listening into this.
oh yeah, that's the
Yeah.
psychic saying that. So you know
Really?
maybe.
What? Who was working for the State Department? Your dad or your mom?
My dad.
What did he do?
He did public affairs. If a journalist had a question about, America's stance on something,
He'd make it up.
he'd call back and go, oh, is this okay? And then he'd say, oh, yes, it's okay.
So he was a spokesperson.
But yeah, he was at one point. Mostly he was just, in the CIA. But then he's, big Russia file. And so now he's doing stuff with Russia. And now he's actually recruiting people for the State Department.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where is he? What part of the country?
Illinois.
So if I wanted to get a job for the State Department, how
You
would
go
I?
to Illinois or
I have to-
Indiana or Wisconsin. He
What's
has
his
it in
email
house.
address?
Can't give it
It's
out.
got to
It's
be.
CIA.
It's got to be public information, surely, doesn't it?
Do you want his email address?
If anyone's listening,
that's
we
his
have-
job.
we
So
have
sorry,
two-
Dad.
we
It's
have
at state.gov.
at state.gov.
I hope he doesn't get inundated.
I hope he does
Or maybe
because
he does, yeah.
couldn't we get 10%?
10%.
10% of referrals, like when we get 2 interviews for
That's
free
how the
or
government
something.
Gym
works.
membership.
Yeah. That was Annalisa Kelly. Sitting next to Annalisa is Ruby Ross.
Yes.
Okay, I got that right.
You did.
It's very complicated having
Yes.
3 people in a band.
I
Looking
understand.
at all these names. Now, Ruby, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Virginia, in Charlottesville, Virginia. And my dad was up in Vermont, so I was between the two.
Okay.
And then I lived in Boston for a little while, and
They're all
then
cold.
came down to New Orleans.
They're all cold places till you got here. Good thing.
Virginia is cold and hot.
Is it?
Yeah,
It's hot in the summer.
hot
I
in the
assume.
summer.
See,
It does
thought-
get cold.
Right.
But yeah, no. Boston winters. I spent one there, and that was enough.
was
and then
plenty,
I came
I
down
bet
here.
it was.
So.
And the last member of Pyeya is Julia Michaels, who's got the strongest handshake of any woman I've ever shaken.
Nice.
I
Julia,
think it
that's
was
good.
my sister who told me that I needed to have a strong handshake so that I could, have a good presence when I'm meeting
It's
people.
true. It
So
impressed me.
Thank you.
Do you work out or something? You're just naturally
Well,
strong.
I do a little rock climbing sometimes.
A
so I think I
little
got
rock climbing. Is there such a thing as a little rock?
Well,
New
ever since I
Orleans.
moved to New Orleans, there hasn't been a ton of rock climbing. I mostly climb oak trees now because it's
Do you
the
really?
closest I can get. So
You're not kidding, right? You do.
no, I actually was
You
climbing
actually
one
climb,
earlier
right?
today. Yeah.
What street was that on?
Like Race and Camp, the little park right there,
Yeah.
with fountain. Yeah. just
You
climb-
climbed the oak trees in Race and Camp Street.
Yeah, sure.
Does anyone ever say anything, or you just?
Oh well, I mean, there's always like little kids climbing, so I'll just blend in
Yeah.
with
There's
them.
that crazy.
Wow. Isn't there indoor rock climbing joint
In
somewhere?
Slidell, the one
No,
that was
too
on
far
Canals
away.
closed.
So you girls all met each other at Wesleyan
Mm-hmm.
University, and you formed Pyeya after moving to New Orleans. It says here.
That's right.
So, what's the deal with Should we just start in? Okay, here we go. This is the real show here. Okay, wait. What the hell is the Balkans?
It's a region in Europe, in southeastern Europe. So it's from Croatia to Bulgaria, pretty much.
Did you guys know this, by the way? So
Yeah.
yes, Kevin,
Lots of
did you know
gypsies
what the
there.
Balkans was?
No, I had no idea.
No, I see. Carrie, did you really know that?
Yeah,
For
no,
real?
no, gypsy music. Yeah.
Gypsy music.
Yeah, Romania. That's
Sometimes
Okay.
people mishear us and think that we said Vulcan, like Star Trek. I swear, it's
I did have
happened to
to
me
take-
multiple times.
I did have to take a second, like listen.
we
like,
should
wait.
encourage that.
That
yeah.
would be awesome. Get a bunch of Trekkies at our concert. They'd be sorely disappointed, though.
Where do
Should
you
wear the shirts.
Yeah, by the time they got there.
Hey,
And
come
you
on.
could give them your Vulcan hand grip.
Exactly.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that's right.
Or
Mind
walk
meld.
on stage and just give the Vulcan. hand.
Exactly.
Right.
You can do
Look at
it.
that.
There.
Nice work.
I have a
Can
Star
everyone do
Trek
that?
shirt, actually.
Oh,
you know,
nice.
Like the actual
Yes.
thing from the show.
Yeah. It
Uh,
could be
it-
in,
I think cheap thrift store knockoff, but
Right.
yeah.
Where did you buy that? Sweden?
That was my boyfriend bought it somewhere. I don't know where, but
So you'll have boyfriends as well?
we do actually. Look at
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Aw.
And what kind of guys are commonly attracted to women who sing Balkan music?
do they have anything in common?
I don't know. Mine's a weirdo. But they're all kind of weirdos. I'd
Yeah.
say.
They're all-
lovable weirdos.
Yeah.
In their own ways.
Yeah. Actually, my boyfriend has New Zealand citizenship. I have a
More
detection of,
international.
There you go.
but he grew up here.
How did he get New Zealand citizenship?
His dad is from New Zealand, although now he's an American citizen. But yeah, he grew up in New Zealand. He's a doctor. He's lived here for I think 30 years. And I guess if your dad's New Zealander, then you become.
I guess
From
you
New
can get a
Zealand too,
passport.
yeah.
So your dad his dad is a New Zealander who's
Yep.
a doctor. Is he at Children's Hospital?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Everyone tells me about this guy, but I've never, because I'm from New Zealand, so everyone
That's
asks
so
me,
fu-
do you know
he's-
anyone else
The
from New Zealand?
Kiwis
I'm
have
like,
to
no.
stick
my gosh.
together.
No, we don't at all. He's from Auckland.
No, are you from Auckland?
I'm from Christchurch, actually.
Oh, okay.
I
I've
think
been
his
there.
family is from. I
This
could be
is-
wrong about that. Actually, I'm not sure.
Call him up right now. People told me about this guy for years. I've been
He's
here for
great.
20-something
He's great.
years, and I've heard about this guy.
And he's a
And
good talker, very good conversationalist. So he
We
should
should
be
have him on the show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he would
Good
be on the
idea.
show, I'm
Yes.
sure.
Okay, so I guess we're just going to make you do it. Just going to make you sing a song. So
Sure.
we get
Yeah.
the idea of what Balkan. And do you normally have instruments?
No, we
Not
have
for
a
most of our
drum.
songs. Yeah, we do have a drum on a couple of songs, but mostly we just do a cappella music.
It's traditionally sung a cappella, a lot of it.
By the-
Women's choirs.
By the original Balkan women's choirs.
Yeah.
This is just mysterious, isn't it?
Well, that's funny because one of the bigger ones is called. I'm going to butcher the name. It's in French. Le Mystère de
Le mystère des
Voix.
voix bulgares.
Yeah, you speak French. That's right.
Okay. What is that?
Which means the mystery of the Bulgarian voices.
So you nailed the adjective.
Okay. The mystery of the Bulgarian voices.
Yes. It was
What-
one of the
what's
first
so
groups
mysterious?
that
I was just thinking
popularized.
Oh, we should just not
Music.
explain and sing instead.
yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
okay.
keep it.
Well, what are you
mysterious.
going to sing for us today?
Do you want something upbeat or more?
well, something that
we
would,
should
could
do
be good for-
mysterious.
Oh, mysterious. All right.
Mysterious.
I guess that should be Iceno.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
What
Can
do
we
you
do?
think?
Is it okay if we do like a slower song? Like it's a little.
Well, that's okay with me. What do you guys think?
Sure.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
a lullaby.
Sure, you can do whatever you feel like. You think
Yeah.
it'll fit the mood of sitting at a bar drinking margaritas?
No.
No, not at
Not
all.
at all, okay.
Not at all.
Will it transport us to Bulgaria?
If it's in
yeah.
Bulgaria, as long as drinking is involved, I'm sure it'll fit.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, this one is a lullaby.
Okay.
Don't fall asleep.
Večerjaj, sino, večerjaj, večerjaj, sino, zalegaj. Mene naju, majčinko, tvoja na blaga večerja. Mene naju, majčinko, tvoja na blaga večerjaj. Naj mi je naju, majčinko, snošna namalka moja.
Because that's shocking.
It is really crazy to sing while listening to
It's
yourself.
hard,
and-
actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
with headphones? You
Yeah,
can take
never
the headphones.
experienced that before.
Ah.
Maybe you can take that.
Yeah.
You can take them off, by the way.
No, it was
There's
kind
no-
of cool. I mean, I was like, damn.
Have you recorded this stuff before?
Not
No,
really, no.
although I just, by the way, I haven't told them yet. I got an offer for us to be recorded, so there you go.
You've got a record. You got a record deal. You didn't bother telling the other girls.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
This is
She
good.
saved it for the show.
Well, congratulations. That's quite a big deal.
Yeah, well, not, I wouldn't call it a record deal. It's a guy who's a fan of ours who has recording equipment who wants to record us. So.
Well, you can tell them you've already worn headphones now, so you.
Yeah, that's right.
you're-
We know how
It's
to.
like you've been in a studio practically. That's so funny that you never heard yourself. What did you think hearing it back to yourself like that? Hearing everyone
the
else's
balance
voice.
was so different. Than
Right.
Yeah, because you
and I-
normally only can hear your own voice, I suppose.
Yeah,
principally.
It was interesting. I'm gonna be curious to hear it later on. As a podcast.
I couldn't
Yeah.
concentrate. I was just like listening to my.
yeah.
But it was cool. It was really cool.
Yeah.
It sounded beautiful.
Thank you.
How did you figure out you could do this, the three of you? Alcohol involved?
That actually helps me. I don't know about Ruby and Annie, but.
Well, Ruby, you brought us into it.
Right, yeah. So I first found out about the music. There was a group that came through Virginia, through Charlottesville when I was in high school. A group that was actually based in Vermont that does folk music from all over the world. And so heard them sing. I was like, that's awesome. And then saw in the program that they did singing camps in the summer. And I was like, oh my gosh, sign me up. And so, so I went and did a singing camp and started learning how to sing this music from them, from this group called Village Harmony. And then when I went to college, I wanted to keep singing that music. And so started a group there. And both of these ladies ended up in it at one time or another. And
And then you three of you happened to all move to New Orleans?
Yeah,
or was that
actually,
planned?
yeah,
and
they
I
moved
didn't know
here
each other.
before me. They didn't know each other. They didn't overlap at all.
You didn't even know each other?
No.
No.
Annalisa and
Julia.
Julia.
No, yep.
Yeah. And so
That's
when I
weird.
came down, I talked to both of them independently. They were like, hey, we should get together and sing just for old time's sake. And I was like, oh, well, actually, there's three of us, and it's mostly three-part music. We should totally do
Worked
that.
out, yeah.
Wow. So, Cari, how would you explain something like that?
Synchronicity.
Is there such a thing as
yes.
coincidence?
Yeah, not coincidence, synchronicity. Yeah, I don't think there is such a thing as coincidence.
There's not.
No,
So
I think there's a little bit of chaos that runs around in the world that may cause what we call coincidence. But primarily, I just think that it's all well woven together.
And what does the grand design come from?
Whoa, I need another drink for that one.
Wow, you haven't even, you got tons of this one. I'll get you another one. What would you like?
The grand design. Boy, that's a loaded question. I think that it is our reason for being here is to grow individually, and I think that collectively we help each other do that. And so I think that most of the stories of our lives are very much like three-part harmony. So I think it works with that. Is that I need this voice in order to have this expression. I need this voice to have this expression. And so different people come along and we connect with each other so that we can create something beautiful. And that could be my moment, that could be your moment, that could be your moment. It should be all of our moments. But I would say that interestingly, having someone here in film, I often suggest to people, why don't you step back for a minute and look at your life as though it's an independent film and you're a very interesting character. And then how do you feel about it? Because that's really what I think it is.
What does that mean exactly?
Well, I think we're characters that come together to have a storyline. My life is an interesting storyline. Your life, I'm sure, is an interesting storyline, as are everybody else in the room and in this city for certain. And so I think that that's just the way it happens, is that we draw in those people into our lives that are going to make the best story. So I'm not exactly sure who the casting agent is. I argue with that casting agent from time to time. But
So the coincidences, such as they are created by ourselves. We're not part of some grand predetermined system.
I'm not. I actually don't have the answer to that, and I'm glad that I don't
Come
have
on,
the
you're
answer
the best
to that.
psychic in America.
I am. According to the
According
BBC,
to BBC,
America,
it's a
yes,
pretty
I am.
major
Yes.
authority. I would believe it.
But I don't think I do have the answer, and I think that that's better. The people that have the answer and really believe that they know what this whole thing is, they scare me a little bit. I'm always open to learning more. So
So it says in the bio, which is true, I suppose, that you're a third generation.
I am.
So what does that mean?
My grandfather was an astrologer and a numerologist. My mother was a psychic and a medium, and I came along and became a psychic and a medium too.
Do you have kids?
Nope.
So it's the end of the line for the
Yep.
for the Roy psychic
Yeah,
family.
well,
Unless you adopt these 3 girls here.
Yeah. No. I look at it as I think it's difficult for people to help a lot of people and then help. I have more of a kind of a macrocosm in my helping, and I'm cool with that. Everybody's my family, everybody's my kid.
Yeah. So how did you first discover it?
I was about 7 years old, and I was at my house, and I started talking to somebody sitting in a chair. And from the conversation, my mother understood what was going on, and I was having a conversation with somebody that wasn't there. And so she...
Well, most 7-year-olds do that, though.
Well, no, mine was pretty detailed, and the chair itself started to rock, and so it was. And my mother, this is what my mother did as a gig, so she kind
Right,
of
so
knew
you
what
knew it,
was going on.
yeah, you
and
knew.
I wasn't just mimicking it. I mean, they were pretty careful not to, try to put something on me. I was allowed to be what at that point thought I was going to design playgrounds. That's what I really was interested in doing at 7 years old. So that was my big. It's going to be an engineer of playgrounds.
We need better playgrounds. I really don't like playgrounds now.
We do. We need them. We do. We could make them all trees and rock places where we can climb. I spent such a large part of my childhood sitting in trees. I just love that. But
You do too.
yeah. See. Ooh, synchronicity. But so she saw what was going on. I also did weird things, like I could tell when somebody was going to call. I knew who it was. I knew who was going to be at the door. I knew answers to questions before teachers asked the full
That's
question.
handy. Do you know the exam?
Sometimes I did. I was really, really good at
Okay, so
school.
let's go through-
I was academically pretty good.
Let's go through all the stupid questions that people ask you. Then.
Okay, sure.
What do they start with? The Powerball numbers and the horse races?
Oh, the Powerball number. That's the one that I love.
Okay.
My response to that is, if I could pick the lottery, do you think I'd be sitting here talking to you right now?
What other frequently
I'd be on my
asked questions?
island
Yeah, really.
right now,
Okay, so that's you can't do
well,
that one.
you'll
Horse
say
races,
something.
same thing.
The whole thing where you knew that already, but of course you knew
Right,
that already,
right.
as though this is all
Right.
you walk around with a microphone and earphones on 24/7, right? So that's just what you do all the time. I have moments where I just like to not be psychic too, So
Well, that's what I was going to ask you next, actually. Does it crash in on you your whole life?
you were going to ask me that.
Touche.
There you
Does
go.
it, do you find it crashes in on you all the time and you can't stop
No,
picking up
I-
stuff like, you know what Kevin's thinking about right now, which is embarrassing.
No, I don't want to know everything. I don't really
Really
need to
nothing
know
up
the
there right
minutia. No, there's
Right.
stuff up there, honey. No. Don't
What-
talk
what's he
stuff like
thinking
that.
about?
No. Actually, I think he's got some other things that are going on this evening that he's thinking about too. He's got
That's
a
'cause
pretty
he's from
busy
texting,
schedule. I didn't see that, but
No, I'm just kidding.
no.
Do you have stuff going on tonight that you have to juggle?
I'm writing a script right now. Kind of. It's horror / thriller. Takes place in New Orleans. It's kind of, it's a horror type script. So it's, I try to think of funny things so my life won't be all horrorness.
So you're absorbed by the script, so you keep thinking about it all the time.
Yeah. It's kind of like how you said. It's like it comes to you and you see it and you just don't know. It's like I'm like a guy with a computer sitting in the corner, just sitting in the corner while everybody is doing their thing, and I just decide to take that and what people are doing and listening and write it, and then trying to create horror scenes. Is really, I'm not that type of person that likes gore that much. Then try to create that. and
Why
try
are
to
you
scare
writing
it.
a horror film if you don't like it?
Well, as a writer, I said to myself I wanted to know which genre I'm really strong in. So I said I was gonna do like two scripts for each genre.
Okay.
So romance, I haven't gotten to romance yet. I'm staying away from that right now. But I'm, comedy, action.
What's the station?
Station
What
is a
genre
comedy.
is that? That's a comedy.
It's a comedy. It's a kind of dark, I wouldn't say too dark, but it's kind of comedy. Can't really take it too serious. My character is Tony. He comes in on his last day in his pajamas and locks himself in the radio station, and so he's saying whatever he wants to say. So,
That's cool.
yeah.
That's cheap too, I suppose. There's one set there.
Yeah, one set, one location. That's why we try to keep it. It was a low budget. The budget was like $11,000, and so we took $8,500, $1,000 towards location, everything else went to the crew and food. So.
That's a pretty cheap movie, 11,000. So you wouldn't take much to get your money back on that if you
Nah,
sold it to somebody. What do you do now? Then it's out. It's on Vimeo. You can watch the whole thing on Vimeo.
Yeah, you can watch it for like $2 on Vimeo on demand. While I'm not promoting the station, I'm writing, working on like Dirty Springs is a cartoon that's coming out. It should be on funnet.com.
On Fundat.
Yeah, crowdfunding.
Yeah.
So far right now we have the drawings complete, the story, the voices. The voices, everybody's from New Orleans. It's all comedians in New Orleans. Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty ambitious project, making an animation. Or can you do it on computer now and it just does itself, kind of? Or do you have to do it all by hand? Like the old
I have
days
somebody that does it. Like I have, that's the thing about producing. You can go out and find people for certain things, and
you can go to a bar and have a margarita while the suckers at home drawing stuff.
right.
Good deal.
Yeah, like that. But being the boss, you over it, so you have to be.
Are you
on
paying this guy?
Yeah, definitely.
What's it about, Dirty Springs?
Dirty Springs is about college. It's about these two guys, Clifford and B Black, that goes to college, and they're experiencing what we all experience when we go to college, a little bit more. So it's fun.
So is it short for the web? Are they like webisodes, or is it going to be a full feature-length film?
It's not going to be a film. It's going to be like a 30-minute episodes.
Oh, for TV, say?
Yeah, we want to do it for TV. Trying to hopefully we could get it onto Adult Swim or something like that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and then I have Loco Amigos film that I'm producing.
Loco Amigos.
Yes.
Let's have a guess at what genre that one is.
Comedy.
Comedy.
Yeah, I didn't write this one though. I'm helping out as a producer. I read the script, fell in love with it, helped develop it to make it a little bit stronger, and so far it's on Funnet right now, gaining funds. And
Fundet is a local New Orleans crowdsourcing thing, like Kickstarter, but for New Orleans only projects. We had that guy, Alex McConaughey.
Yeah, I was just with him last night. One good friend of mine.
He's great.
Yeah,
and this is his idea. It's a pretty cool idea. It's it's Kickstarter for New Orleans.
Right.
And it seems to be working out pretty well.
I was doing real well for him.
So how much money do you need? We can get people to kick some in.
We need for, let's see, Dirty Springs University, we need 8,000. And then for Loco Amigos, same thing, around 8,000 too.
So what do we get if we give you like $20 or something? What do we get for it?
Well, for Dirty Springs,
T-shirt?
For Dirty Springs, you're gonna get a T-shirt. You get like a character, giving you like a little letterhead saying thank you. But then you get a little bit higher. You could get like your email, your voicemails, by a character,
cool.
saying this person's not here, and have a little comedic with it.
Okay.
If you give like about $200, $300, you get a street named after you. You get a building on a campus named after you.
Great idea.
So, yeah. So
very cool.
So in the higher it goes, you get named stuff be named off after certain people and all, and hopefully we'll start that soon.
That's cool. So, Cari's mom was a psychic, and your dad was in the same kind of business as you, Kevin McLin Sr.
Yeah, you did your homework.
You know what I did before I came here? Like literally about 5 minutes before Chris and I came here, I just Googled your name, and Kevin McLin Sr. came up.
Yeah,
and I thought he looked exactly like you, actually.
Yeah, he can never say I'm not his son.
It's amazing. It's uncanny. I thought it was you, and it said that he was a spokesperson for Michael Jackson, the superstar.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah, from '97 until his death. Yeah. That was a crazy experience.
So you got to meet Michael, I assume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, here we go.
He called the house.
Okay. What's that? He would call you?
He used to call. He used to call for my father. He would call my dad at the house, and that's before like cell phones really started getting popular.
So you had to speak to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here we go.
That is
Everyone's got
crazy.
2 questions. Annalisa, you've got 2 questions about Michael Jackson starting now.
Oh my gosh! Oh dear. I don't have a question about Michael. I'm just in awe.
Who in the world does not have a question about Michael Jackson? I don't believe it.
Well, did you ever have a meal with him? What was his favorite food?
Oh, meal. I never had a meal with him, but my father definitely has plenty of times. He likes grits, New Orleans style grits.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go. Already we found out something we need to hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Grits. I was surprised. I was like, you have all this money in the world, and you want New Orleans grits? Like, really?
Good question, Annalisa. Did you have a follow-up?
Oh man. I don't know. How did your dad get involved in that? How did he meet Michael Jackson?
Let's see. He was probably about 15, 16 years old, and he found out that they were at a hotel downtown, and he went down there dressed up like he was a member in the group, and he snuck into the elevator where Tito and Jermaine and the rest of the brothers were, and he slipped them his demo tape, and they lost it, but they remembered his number, and they called my dad, and then started a whole relationship from like I think 18 to like now. He still talks.
And that was in '97, so he was already huge,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it was
and
97.
that worked. The little slipping.
Well, no. This happened back in like, let's see how long ago my dad met him. This was like this was like about 60s, in the 60s. And Mike was like 14 at the time. Yeah. So.
Wow. So wait, how from the age of they knew each other when they were teenagers? Did they hang out when they were teenagers?
I wouldn't say I would hang out. He was always in the studio. My dad was trying to do the same thing as him, was do music. And so he was trying to get a record deal, and Joseph ended up being my father's manager of a group called Windjammer. And actually, in the station, when you watch the station, the actual song is the first song you hear in the movie. So when the movie kicks in, you hear Tossing and Turning from Windjammer, which is kind of funny that my dad was doing music, and I remember that when I was a kid. And then years later, over 20-some years later, now it's in my film. So it's kind of
really cool.
cheap rights clearance.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the main thing. Okay, so that was your two questions, Annalisa. We're moving down the table. Ruby, what quick questions do you have about Michael Jackson for Kevin?
Did he ever teach you any dance moves?
No, definitely not. But he knows that my dad always be throwing me under the bus with people. Celebrities be like, "Oh, my son definitely loved you. He did this dance move just like you," and he started laughing. So I'm like, I'm a joke. Definitely.
Did you actually try and dance like Michael Jackson?
Who hasn't as a kid? Everybody wants to moonwalk. Everybody wants to kick their leg out.
Can you moonwalk?
I have, with my socks on.
On the moonwalk, down at the moonwalk.
Ruby, do you have a follow up, or you want to?
I'll cede to Julie if you have a burning question.
Julie, you have a question about Michael Jackson for Kevin? Come on.
Well, I guess your main interaction was on the phone with him. Is that sort of what you were saying?
Yeah, as a kid, because he called the house, and my dad take the phone and then on a plane somewhere.
Oh, so he was calling just to
business.
beckon him to
His business, or then celebrities call at strange times at night.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. That was my question. Did he call 4 a.m.? Was it?
I remember I was in high school. I think I was a sophomore, and I know I had a Spanish test that morning, and he called at 2 a.m. or something. And my dad was like, "Oh, sorry, it was Mike." I was like, "Is he gonna take my test for me?" I need a test. I need an A.
I can't imagine the teacher accepting that excuse.
Right.
No,
Sorry.
really can't.
Michael Jackson
kept
my
me from
homework.
doing my homework.
Hey, what did your dad do? He was his spokesperson?
Yeah, he was a spokesperson. First, he was guitarist, songwriter, producer, and when that stopped, he became he was teaching, and he went into being PR, and he did PR for Michael Jackson.
So you're taking his role now, at this table, because we're asking you all these stupid questions that probably your father must have had to answer.
Probably so.
So he was doing it in the mid-90s?
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty much the height of the
I
craziness
know.
when he was
Yeah.
sleeping in the hyperbaric chamber and his hair caught on fire on the Pepsi commercial.
I think.
Do you remember that?
My dad was in LA when that happened.
He was?
He was in the studio when they got called with Joseph when that happened. So that's
When the hair caught on fire.
Yeah, when that situation happened.
Okay, so Cari, you have any questions? Because I've got 100.
Well, it's interesting because I was sitting here thinking about him calling in the middle of the night. I was picking that up, that was going to be one of the things that I really was. I'm curious about his generosity. Did he buy planes for your dad?
Oh, wish.
Did you get an odd, did you get the, a super cool slide maybe for your family on Christmas or anything cool like that?
One time, what was it? It was something that came out. We had it before it came out. The portable DVD player where you could walk around and bring it. I would never forget it. My dad treated that thing like a person with a car with no insurance. Don't move it. Let it stay right there. You move it, it messes up. We can't bring it nowhere. We get it fixed. So he had it hooked up to the TV, and it never moved. So yeah, a DVD player. I think that was one of the first things I remember.
Okay, so now Michael Jackson's dead. We all know that. So can anybody be sued if you say anything about him? Because he's dead, so he's not going to sue you, and his family's not going to sue you or anything,
No,
right?
state probably.
Do you know the inside story about all this crap? Did he really father those children? Were they his kids?
From what I know of, it's his. You know,
Okay.
they have his attitude, from what I hear.
Do they? Do you know the
Yeah.
kids as well?
Well, no, I don't. No, my dad met Prince when he was younger, and then around that time, my father stayed at home. It was getting around the time for around Katrina, so it was my dad kind of started staying home a lot, working wise, and then Katrina happened. So
But he was still a spokesperson up to the very
Yeah, all
end when
to
he
the very
when he
end.
when he died.
Wow.
That awful.
I have no
experience.
doubt that they're his kids. I'm just, not so sure about the way that they came about. But I'm
Yeah,
sure
I-
genetically they're his
Oh,
kids.
you mean it was more of
Yeah.
a sort of turkey baster question?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
let's
I'm sure it would be
Kevin's
more
shrugging.
sophisticated
Doesn't know
than
anything.
that.
I
but
have no clue what goes on behind people's doors.
that's a good
There's no reason.
spokesword.
There's no reason why
That's a good
he
spokesman's
wouldn't have
response.
sex with a woman, though. I mean, is there? I mean, it's not that difficult to
You're
do
Michael
that.
Jackson, man.
He's
You're
Michael
You're the
Jackson.
king of pop. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Like you
Well, but
everybody
you also,
wants
if you have all of these kind of Howard Hughes had a lot of those same
He's got a lot of
silly kind of
problems, yeah, right.
idiosyncrasies, and so he may not have wanted to go through that process, in that way. If you want
Is it
to
sort
kind
of icky?
yeah, well, yeah, and you never
You
know
catch
what you
something.
yeah.
How
That's
did
how I
he-
feel about it.
How did he meet that woman?
I mean,
It
he
was
walked
his-
around with a mask
Well,
and
there is
gloves.
that.
I mean, so he wasn't really into intimacy, I wouldn't think.
Oh, he
So,
was.
you
From
know.
what I always ask that question: why the gloves? And he was more worried about getting sick from people,
Well, yeah.
like catching a
Well, that's
cold.
what it's
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
germphobic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
germphobic.
Howard
Outside.
Hughes kind of thing.
Right.
outside type of thing, like going outside in the public.
Well, that's mental problems, right?
Well, if you think about it, if you have
Okay.
100,000 people running at you all at the same time trying to touch you,
Right.
you don't want to be,
I think a mask would be the
ass.
least of your
I don't
problems.
want to say you want to be an ass by not shaking anybody's hand, not saying,
Right.
hello, how you doing, thank you. Because I know during All-Star Weekend, I was downtown and I saw celebrities. I saw basketball players. I saw Steve Kerr walking down the street, and I was like, oh, Steve Kerr, he came, he shook my hand. So now think about it. If you that famous and one person comes up to you, now think about you, Michael Jackson. You got tons of people crying for you. You don't know where their hands has been. You don't know where
No, but
some
it
people
must
probably
be-
just digging in. Oh, Michael Jackson.
It must be the most unbearable thing. And he's like a prisoner. Where you can't go anywhere in the world. You couldn't go anywhere without someone staring at you, yelling out your name or whatever.
Yeah.
That just must be crazy.
It comes with the territory when you have the #1 album.
You should be his, posthumous
Spokesperson.
spokesperson.
Yeah, really, he's doing such a great job.
Okay.
Really doing a good job.
One more question.
All right.
What's up with the color of his skin and all that crap? What's the truth about all that?
I would say the truth is that he had a skin problem.
Aha!
Vitiligo.
That's the truth.
Yeah,
Spokesperson.
like
He wasn't crazy and got his skin bleached.
right. It
He
was-
had some sort of.
Vitiligo is it's patches.
Yeah,
you
it's so
know?
it's patching. So he just went ahead and just got the whole thing done.
Ah.
Because back in
Well,
that
what
time, if you look at that time, that's what the late '80s, early '90s, when all that started happening between the Bad album and the Dangerous album. So that's at that time you had the AIDS craze. You had a lot of disease crazes going on. So if you that famous and you're in the eye, you got little patches here and there, and people, they're afraid if someone said someone has the flu in the same restaurant. Everybody's like, "Ooh, don't touch me." So you see, that happens.
Gotta
and-
say, you are very good. You've inherited this, because that's all got to be bullshit, I'm sure. Because the fact is that he had that hideous plastic surgery that completely changed his appearance. He didn't look anything like that. If you look, anyone can see that.
Right.
But he just happened to have vitiligo and bleached his skin because of that. That doesn't sound believable to me, Kevin.
Then you get a little bit of, touch of, can I get, this little touch up here? a little
Yeah, but
touch
what
up
I'm saying,
there,
someone who's obsessed with their appearance to that extent, they would totally change
Yeah.
their look. It doesn't seem unlikely that they would also want a different skin color if they could get one for whatever reason.
Well, and his sisters, have kind of followed the same. They must have caught the disease. 'cause
Yeah, he and
they all
Janet
they
ended
all
up
fairly
merging.
yeah.
They look the
Right.
same.
Well, and
Really?
Latoya girl,
they all have
Latoya
plastic
is
surgery,
the
or they all
turtle.
have light skin. now?
It's the Hollywood
Yeah.
thing.
It is.
Hollywood, you could see that people like Beyonce, for example, she on one cover she looks darker and on one cover she looks lighter. That's
And the blonde hair,
Mhm.
yeah.
yeah.
we all trying to fight for a position and the perfect look, which is really no perfect look
Right.
because we all born different.
Mm.
Creating our realities. That's just what people do now. Also externally, they make themselves whatever they want to be. So
There's nothing wrong with that, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Unless
I'm
everyone in
not
the
here
world's
to judge
staring
on
at
it,
you
but
going,
yeah.
what's wrong with that person? I mean, we all want to be something. We all want to be what we want to be, don't we? I mean, whatever it is. But most of us can't afford and don't have plastic surgery. We try and change from the inside, I guess, or our hair color or our clothes.
And then people, it seems that now it is the expectation, that we look a certain way, that 30 is that, what do they say, 50 is the new 30, or 70 is the new 50, or, it's, if you can buy it, then it's true.
How do you combat that?
I think that train has left the station, and
Too
I'm
late.
not so sure that's going to happen.
There's nothing
now.
we can
Yeah,
do. We're just trapped in this.
I'd like to say
Worshipping
differently, but I don't
youth.
think so.
Well, why couldn't we worship old age instead of worshiping youth? That'd be a lot easier. We wouldn't have to have plastic surgery that way.
I agree. It would be easier, but there wouldn't be so much money being made. And
Yeah, well, there is that.
keeping everyone on the teetering on the edge of insanity.
Besides being a psychic, you're also a medium, right? You talk to dead
I
people as
do.
well.
Yeah. Should I try to raise Michael? I think that he's
Oh
had
my
enough.
God!
Whoa!
Could you do it?
He's like, please leave me alone. I'm dead now. Come on.
Hey, hang on a minute. I would never have thought of that. Could you get in touch with Michael Jackson right now?
I can get in touch with what is the essence of Michael Jackson. Yes.
Right now, while we're sitting here.
Yeah, I mean, why not? It's really not much of a difference between him and, somebody's mom. They're just people who were
There's a
here
bit of
and
a difference,
who are no longer here.
So they're accessible. Everybody in the world who's ever died, you can access them?
I would say yes. I really don't go around trying to do it when I'm not asked, but yeah, I believe that they are. I don't see why one would be and the other isn't. I mean, just
well,
physically.
let's whistle Michael up then.
Sure. Let me think about that. Try to connect with him. This is I have never done Michael Jackson before, but this is the first
Okay.
right here. I may have to have
Another sip of
this.
that cocktail.
Yeah.
You might
I
not.
Yeah.
mean, I'm just getting a little nervous meeting him, even now that he's not here. I mean, he's still superstar.
Well, you can
over
say you're a friend of Kevin, so you're in.
I could.
Yeah.
You don't have to be
Well,
nervous.
first off, he says, "Thank you, Kevin, for speaking such wonderful words of truth about me, and taking my back here, even though I wasn't." But I feel that for Michael Jackson, what I get for him is that he's totally happy that he's not here anymore. I don't think this was a pleasant experience for him, obviously, but I mean, I really feel that when I kind of tap into that idea of the essence of Michael Jackson. What I feel is that he felt tremendously misunderstood. And that some of the things that he was accused of, I don't really feel like he did do. I think he just kind of went along with it because it was just, at that point, Michael Jackson was no longer, you stop being an individual when you're that famous. You become a product, you become an entity other than like what you and I sit and have to worry about our individual lives. You don't have any real control over that anymore. And so I think that he really gave up. I think he gave up a long time ago. I think he gave up pre-plastic surgery. I think that who that little boy was and who the man was that died were really, if I was to tap into Michael Jackson and connect with his spirit and the part of Michael Jackson that part passed very, very long ago. It had nothing to do with the
Are you picking this
overdose
up
and
from?
stuff.
Are you picking this up
from the energy of what I feel when I connect to that? Yeah, and I wouldn't have thought that before, but basically that's what he's saying. I died at about 12.
Wow.
Wow, that's deep.
That's heavy. Yeah.
It usually is,
Yeah.
It usually is. That's what the.
And do you have conversations with people who have passed like this?
I do. Yeah, that's part of what it is that I do, and I've done that most of my whole life.
What about was it your grandfather? Was it?
He was a numerologist and an astrologer.
So can you talk to him
And I've got
regularly?
I don't usually talk to him as much as I talk to my mom, and she's passed too.
Right.
And so I have a lot of people on the other side, and I talk to them. I think that what I believe is that just because somebody is no longer here in physical form, it doesn't really mean that we can't have a relationship with them. I mean, it's really silly to
You
just
can get
say,
arrested for that. By
This
the way.
is yeah, not that kind.
Sorry.
And it would be pretty obvious here because everything is above ground, so I couldn't get away with much. But I think that we just need to kind of develop new relationships. If you've had, I have clients who've, say, been married to somebody for 50 years and that person passes, and the rest of the family's like, come on, get over it, move on with things, marry somebody else. You're young, you're not really young at that point. But also, if you've had a relationship with somebody that you've talked to every day for 50 years, I think it's very artificial to think that should just stop. And I think that we are putting an immense amount of guilt on people on top of grief because they aren't just letting something go. I don't have no problem with people talking to people who have passed. If they tell them to do terrible things to other people and they do, yeah. I have a problem with it. But
I always have a question.
Mm-hmm.
You know how some people say when a loved one passes, they say that they saw them like in a dream, or they saw them like standing somewhere like for a glimpse. Is that a part of it? Like your mind kind of kicks into that third gear or something like that?
And perceives other dimensions. Yeah, well, dreams are I mean, the dream world and the when we go into sleep state, we are perhaps at our most receptive. A lot of wonderful ideas come through. I mean, it's a really just creative space. It's meditative, probably the deepest meditation that you can get is sleep, right? When we all sit and meditate, we fall asleep, ultimately, And so I think it opens up that place where we can connect with them. And when they see them, and I get this a lot. People are like, well, do you see them like it was you? When you see dead people, is it like you're having a conversation like, ooh, I'm having this conversation, and I get up and the thing, it's like, ooh, we were all dead. Ooh, no, and I didn't know. It doesn't work that way. It really, and I think the reason that they don't come back to us in physical form, again, I'll use an instance of a woman who lost her husband, and she said, I can feel him when I go to sleep at night. Why can't I see him? Why doesn't he come back? And why can't I see him like a person? And I'm like, because you'd never leave the room, and you have other things that you need to do. And if you lose somebody once and you get it back, have you ever lost something and you find it? You don't really let that thing go, the next time if you're smart. And so it's the same thing with people. If you've lost somebody and all of a sudden that person comes back, you're not going to leave their side, because you know that if you leave, there's a real good chance that they're not going to be there again. And so I don't think it happens that way. I think that we connect with them in many different signs, and people see things that they have messages, signs, and wonders that connect them to the person. I don't think there's a stock way that the dead communicate, but I think that it's possible for everybody to have those relationships.
It is. All of us could be in touch with dead people, for real.
Yeah.
What about reincarnation? Do we come back as someone else?
This is a tricky thing, because personally, I'm not a big fan of time being exactly the way that we think of it. So I personally think it's all happening at the same time, but that's a whole different conversation.
But isn't that the theory of quantum physics and whatever that?
Yeah, that all things are
That
simultaneous,
there is no
there's
time. It's not an arrow. It's a
Yep.
single moment.
Yeah, and so reincarnation is the way that we have to process things so that we can kind of learn from experiences. Again, if we go back to this whole thing being a learning process.
So you believe
And
that we're living
experience.
simultaneous lives
That's what
right
I-
now?
That's what I believe, But
So you're an empress from Egypt and a psychic in New Orleans, and
I've been one
cosmonaut.
of these, excuse my language, there are so many people that just as soon as you start talking about reincarnation, they're the emperor, they're the empress,
Right. What was
I
your
like
what
the
was your
shit-
language?
I was
Oh,
the
you-
shit kicker of some place. I wasn't really necessarily I'm just not so sure that
No,
there
everybody
aren't
was
that
an-
many empresses to start
Well, that's
with.
what
so
everybody
if
was
you're
an
in-
Egyptian princess. Basically.
Everybody, yeah.
Well, there weren't that many
There
people
weren't that
either,
many
by the
people,
way.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
now 7 billion people on Earth, or 6 billion people, and there used to be like 1 million.
Yes.
So where are all the souls coming from?
Well, I think again, if we are all, if this is happening at the same time, then we're fragments of an oversoul or a greater soul. And when those things come about in existence, again, I'm not the grand designer, so I'm not sure the reason about that. But that's made more sense to me than any of the other things. I hear a lot of things about what the afterlife is like, and that some of the books that I read are like romance novels to me, because they're just basically describing what we have here, except it's all white and puffy. And I'm thinking, then why would we leave here if it's just like here? It doesn't make any sense. You just stay here, So no body, all bets are off.
Do you get impatient with the sort of trivial stupidity of the world?
No, because I'm really happy to be here. All of the good, bad, all of it. Stupid, that's a judgment that I do make from time to time, but I try to stop myself. I think that we're lucky. I think that we chose to come here for good reasons. Again, I think that we're learning something. And so in order to learn, it's not always pleasant. Sometimes it's painful. But I think we're lucky to have this. And I do believe that souls keep coming back here. And when I do tap into people who have passed over, they pretty much have the same thing. They're like, don't hurry. It's pretty good here. We want you to stay and do your thing. But, hey, it's like I just got off of a roller coaster and I want to come back again. That's what I keep feeling from souls. It's like, I'm ready to come back. Let's do this over. Ooh, that was a fun ride. And so I think if they feel that way, and most lives are a mixture of pleasure and pain, that I really have learned to look at this and be thankful for every single moment. I'm here, I'm breathing, I'm lucky.
Okay. What about a song?
A song?
Do you think it's time to hear another song from Pyeya?
Yeah, sure.
That's what I'm thinking.
Me? Okay.
Do you want to sing?
My dad was an opera singer,
Your dad was an opera singer?
Yes, I grew up in the opera
Do you
business.
sing?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Do you still sing?
Every once in a while, yeah, if I have enough of these.
You're a very slow drinker. You've only drunk half of your giant margarita.
Well, because I would go into an anxiety attack if I was sitting here with nothing left. Just kidding.
You don't have any anxiety, do you?
Every once in a while, sure.
Do you, even though you can see everything? Can you
Yeah.
see your own life? This is a stupid question. I'm sure you get this all the time too.
No, and this is the question that I get all the time, and I think it's part of objectivity. I think that everybody loses some of it when you're looking at your own life, because we do. We have a central nervous system. I do have anxiety. I have, I go through every other feeling that another human being does. It's just I'm a vessel for information for other people. That's the only thing. And
Right.
I think everybody here, as I was sitting, I was like, wow, this is a great, perfect group of people, because I think we're psychic. Well, I mean, just
You
you're
can
great
thank
people.
Graham DePonte for it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Graham.
Thank you.
Yay. But creativity, you're vessels, right? We're vessels. I think it was Stravinsky said that after composing The Rites of Spring, he didn't recall writing it. He didn't recall. He was just, and he said he was a vessel. And so really everybody here, we're vessels. It's just we're providing different information to people for different reasons. You're touching people's lives, you're touching people's lives, you're touching people's lives, you're touching people's lives, the bartender is touching people's lives. We're all touching people's lives.
Right.
That's what it's all about. So I think y'all are vessels too. So yay, sing on.
How do you explain people who are doing things that are bad to other people, criminals or people who are hurting other people?
Well, here's a story. I've had this.
I wish I could come up with an original question.
I've had preachers as clients, and we've sat down. I mean, I really do have an interesting. You'd be surprised at some of the people that come to me. But
who are they? What are their names? No one listens to the show.
I'm not.
Yeah.
No.
Come on.
No.
They wouldn't mind.
No. In that way, I'm like a priest. It's the only way I'm like a priest. I'm not going to tell anybody.
No, I'm sure you couldn't tell people's names. But what if we guessed a few?
No, not going to do it. But the interesting thing that we have that I've had debates about is the story of Judas. I mean, and
Judas
of Judas Iscariot in the Bible who read it on Jesus, right? In order for the story to kind of turn out the way it did, there had to be Judas. Judas had to do that.
Had to be a bad guy.
There had to be a bad guy, and so
Good story. The hero's journey.
Yeah, it is the hero's journey. Yes, Joseph Campbell. Yeah.
It's like me and my good friend. He's the director of the station. We always talk about the hero's journey. That Batman needed the Joker. As every villain, every hero, they need that person to live. Like that's what we get into conversations about the Dark Knights. Did the Joker die? Did he go to the asylum or something? Because it was like, no, Batman didn't kill him because Batman and the Joker are. They need each other. If there's no Joker, then there's no Batman.
So if there's no Jesus, there's no Judas, or vice versa.
There's no Judas. There's no.
So
Jesus.
is any of this true? Was there really a Jesus and a Judas and so on? Did that really happen?
I'm not a historian, So
Well, can you get in touch with Jesus?
Wow,
Can't we all?
that's a big order to fill right there.
Well, Michael Jackson. If we could get Michael Jackson and Jesus on the show,
They probably both say very much the same thing.
Can we get John Lennon too?
John Lennon would be
Yeah.
a great idea.
Yeah. We need them, all of them folks here more. But I think that I don't know whether Jesus really existed or not. Again, I'm not a historian.
No, but did these people, someone who like Jesus who died approximately 2014 years ago, I suppose, wasn't it? Is his spirit still whizzing around somewhere that you could connect with? People who died thousands of years ago?
Well, yeah, and I've connected with inanimate objects. Now this sounds really kind of crazy,
Okay.
but
How
I
many
know
of
he's
these
already
drinks
looking.
have you
No,
had?
but I had once that when I was connecting with something, I had something come through to me that was an instrument of a very well-known musician, and that they said that they were imbued with energy by all of the attention that somebody spent on it. Now, again, I'm not sitting here going, this is absolutely, yes, this happens, but a lot of what's going on in theoretical physics is saying that, thought and energy really can influence something. And so who's to say that a guitar doesn't have the same energy, that say a person does if we've imbued them with that much.
And we give them names, and
We name them, yep.
I think definitely you can walk into someone's house and people say, what a great house, and it isn't really a great house at all. It's just there's something about the energy in it. So that's probably the same kind of thing, that your
Absolutely.
energy from you imbues the house from a guitar or whatever. And when people move out, it changes the whole place. Looks
Totally
and
changes.
feels different. So it seems not unreasonable that something could absorb some sort of energy.
Well, and people will often bring something. I don't need it, but they'll bring something that belonged to somebody who departed. Or when I do a missing persons case, they'll bring things to me and they'll say, "Here, this is what this
Missing
was this
persons.
person's."
Hey, let's get on to missing persons. Could you
I
hold
know.
my pen and tell me something about myself? Don't do it. Let's have one more song because we have to get out of here at some point pretty soon. Oh my God! In fact, almost any minute.
We can end it on a "You Do My Slato." Yeah.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
okay,
This
what's
is
this
a
one?
love song. Julia, you want to talk about it?
It's kind of like a Romeo and Juliet song. It's about a man and a woman who can't be together because the man is too poor, and so he's saying to the woman's Lato, "I'll go abroad and I'll make money and then I'll come back and marry you." So the beginning is kind of like a duet. I'm gonna take off my headphones.
You can take them off, of course.
Whoa. The road
How does
outside
it
the
feel?
headphones.
Yeah.
Say- I du my zlato du, I mori du my na my kasi, I tebna menda, I mori tebna menda, I mori tebna menda, I du malasu, I du malasu, I mori du malasu, I mori du malasu, mlada majkana, ina majkana, I mori na majkana, I mori na majkana, imena tebne, I mori nena tebne, I mori nena tebne, I oti sisi, oti sisi, I mori oti sisi, I mori oti sisi, na gurbetke idam zlato, I mori parike svečela. I du my zlato, I mori du my na my kasi zlato.
Wow. How did you like that without the headphones?
Brava,
Nice job. So does it end happily? Does he make all the money and come back and marry the girl, or
that's
do we not know that?
I don't know.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, okay,
He
good.
does. He does. He does.
Of course
He
he does.
did. Yes.
He did.
He did.
Okay, we've got to get out of here, but before we go, Cari, I just wanted to follow up on something you said before the song, which was missing persons. You can find missing persons?
I do my best. Yeah, I don't have 100% accuracy in it, but
Well, the day we're talking about this, by the time you hear this podcast, sometimes people listen to these shows years later. So the day we're recording this flight from that's going from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing disappeared somewhere over the oceans off Vietnam. Nobody has a clue what happened to it as we're sitting here today. Do you have any idea what could happen to all those souls?
what could happen
What-
to the souls,
or
or
what happened to the
the
plane? Could you get in touch with these dead people? Suppose they're dead.
It's gone. I mean, it's down. It's a
not,
million
didn't
little
land
teeny
somewhere on
pieces.
an island in the middle of the
I don't
ocean.
get
They're
that.
all like
No,
lost or
I don't get
something.
that. I don't get that. No, unfortunately, and by the time they come to me, it's usually not a good story. They don't.
Right.
I'm not the first person that they call. I'm usually
So the cops
last.
come to you and say, "Yeah, they're
It's
stuck."
not the cops so much; it's the families that come.
Oh, right.
And especially nobody really wants to say, "Oh, well, we can't do our job. We need to get the psychic," because we didn't do our job. But I mean, it's usually families. I've done work with some police officers who have come to me directly, but it is primarily the families that come.
What's the most? Well, we have to get out of here, but we could stay here all day and ask these questions. What's the most interesting part of your job?
Being able to connect with so many wonderful people, and I travel without ever having to leave the room. I can having people trust me enough to bring their vulnerable. People don't come to me usually in the greatest of spaces. They're coming
People
to
come
me
to you when they're in trouble and they want to
some way or
sort something
another.
out.
Yeah,
in their lives. They're at a crossroads.
Yeah, and to be the person that they have trusted enough to give that vulnerable space to, that just I can't ever feel bad, from being able to help a person in that
So
place.
for $100, we can get our life sorted out. Basically.
Sure. Snap, crackle, pop.
That's it.
Yep.
So you don't have to go to years of therapy or
I'm not going to
join the army or something.
I'm not going to put anybody else out of business. I just do what I do, and when you come to see me, I can pretty much solve things in a short period of time.
Okay.
There
Guys,
you
thank
go.
you so much for joining us. That's been happy hour for
Thank
today.
you.
Thank you.
What a great hour it's been. Thank you very much. Cari Roy, best psychic in America, as determined by BBC.
BBC America.
No less. BBC
BBC
America,
America.
no less.
Yep.
Kevin McLin,
Yes.
we're looking forward to seeing stuff coming out. We can go check out Fundat and give
Yes.
you a couple of bucks and help out.
Definitely.
And Pyeya, Pyeya, if you were looking for it. You can look for that on our website too. It's neworleans.com. Members of Pyeya are Annalisa Kelly, Ruby Ross, and Julia Michaels. Thank you so much for joining us and for singing for us today. What a great show. Our producer is Graham DePonte. Our associate producer and technical director is Chris Kehoe. Christian Unruh is the music director of the show, and Joshua Brown is our music coordinator. The theme song that you're listening to was written and is being played by Mitch Foreman, and the fabulous audio quality of this show is brought to you in part by PreSonus Audio Electronics and also Chris Kehoe. PreSonus makes some of the best audio recording and live sound products around, including Studio One music production software, Studio Live digital mixing consoles, Era studio monitors, and much more. You can find out more about that at presonus.com. If you'd like to be on our show, and you can sit around this table for about an hour here at Casa Borrega, drop us a line. Our address is on our website. We can also check out many other happy hours and our other shows. Out to Lunch with Peter Raschuti, live from Commander's Palace. Mindset with psychiatrist Dr. Nick Pajic. True to the Game with the fabulous Chris True and Tammy Nelson. Vietnola, our show about the New Orleans Vietnamese community. And Midnight Menu Plus One with Margot Moss and the man who ate New Orleans, Ray Canata. You can keep up with us on Facebook, Twitter, and a whole bunch of other time-sucking social media as well. On all of it, we're It's New Orleans. You can find photos from this show on itsneworleans.com and Facebook. Those photos were taken by the fabulous Douglas Engel with his woolly hat. If you're listening to this on iTunes, Stitcher, or Swell, our favorite podcast app, or some other podcast app of your own choosing, thank you for subscribing to us. Take a moment to rate and review us, then helps other people find us. That would be great if you would do that. Our show is recorded live today at Casa Borrega on Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard in Central City in New Orleans. Casa Borrega is a bar, a restaurant, and a live music venue. Check them out. Come down here and check it out for yourself. Happy Hour is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsneworleans.com. For Andrew Duhon, who will be back here at some point from traveling around the world. Everyone out back at the office at INO, Graham DePonte sitting behind me, and Chris Kehoe on the other side. I'm Grant Morris. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you back here next time on Happy Hour.
Right now, you can get both Sprint's unlimited plan and the all-new Samsung Galaxy S10 included for just $35 per month per line for 5 lines. All you need is approved credit and an 18-month lease. No trade-in required. Visit a Sprint store, sprint.com, or call 800-SPRINT-1.
S10 148 gigabyte, $10 a month, up to 2050 month credit applied, then 2 bills or cancel early with no balance due. Unlimited basic up to 930/20, pay $32 per month per line. Auto pay data deportization to congestion speed maximum 0 stores and restrictions apply.